Hey guys, welcome back to more Entitled People stories. In this video, a terrible Karen hated disabled people and ended up crushing my wheelchair with her pickup truck. She insisted that I am faking my disability. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So I've been in a wheelchair for most of my life, stemming from an accident I had when I was 7 years old. More than 30 years later, I'm still combating chronic pain and mobility issues that I will most likely have for the rest of my life. My house has a lot of assistive technology that I use when I am having a bad pain day. If I go out in public, I'm exclusively in a wheelchair and I use a cane for the transitions between my wheelchair and my car. I can still drive and I made sure to keep my handicap placard up to date, but most of the time I get things like groceries delivered to my house. I've been offered the chance to have someone assist with in-house chores, but with how long I've been disabled, I'm more than capable of planning my days around my pain levels to know if cleaning or doing laundry could send me into a flare-up. One day I needed to go grocery shopping for a few spices that I was running low on. I decided to drive to the store and get them instead of having them delivered. That day was a low pain day, so I knew that I could drive to and from the store without issue, but I still made sure to bring my wheelchair with me so I could use it while in the store. That way, if I did have a flare-up, I would be able to park myself out of store traffic to take some medication. It made things easier than if I was using a cane, which might require me to ask someone for help to get me seated or to assist me in walking to another area of the store. I parked in the handicap space near the front of the store and headed out of the car with my cane to unload my wheelchair. There was a woman coming out of the store with her cart that was walking nearby. As soon as she saw me pull out a wheelchair from my car, she gave me a dirty look and started to walk towards me. She commented that it was amazing that I was able to use a cane but still needed a wheelchair. And well, I've had my fair share of people comment on my disability throughout my life, so I was used to someone thinking that I was not really disabled. I ignored her, working on getting my wheelchair set up for me to sit on. The woman got closer, again commenting on how well I was moving and why I needed a wheelchair if I was able to stand and move so well. I politely told her that I had mobility issues, and even though I could walk with a cane, it didn't mean that I would have issues later on and the wheelchair would make sure I didn't get uncomfortable. The woman started to get angry, not understanding why I needed a wheelchair if I had a cane. She seemed to have it in her head that if I was not exclusively using the wheelchair, I was not actually disabled and should not be parked where I was. I informed her that I've lived with this condition for most of my life and I had an official placard for my car. She started to yell at me, claiming that I was just faking it so I didn't have to walk far to the store. A few people were going in and out of the store, some of them stopping to watch what was happening. I was embarrassed, but I tried to keep calm and let her know that, again, this was something that I've lived with for years after an accident and she cannot just assume things about me without knowing. She huffed and walked away and I thought that was the end of it. So I moved my wheelchair into the blue lines next to my spot to make sure it was set up before I sat down in it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a large pickup truck backing up towards the blue loading zone where my wheelchair was. I was right next to my chair when it kept backing up without stopping. The back bumper crashed against my wheelchair, knocking me off my feet, and I landed hard on the ground. I tried to shout out, but the wind was knocked out of me. My wheelchair all but crumpled against the weight of the truck and my left foot was caught under one of the tires. I could see into the driver's window and saw the woman that had been yelling at me. She looked at me on the ground, let out a small "oops," and then drove forward to try and get out of the parking lot. There were still a good amount of people outside the store and a group of them actually stopped the woman from leaving since she might have really hurt me. Someone thankfully called the police while two wonderful strangers helped me to sit up in my passenger seat to wait for an ambulance to come get me. My wheelchair was utterly destroyed, a crushed piece of metal and plastic. I couldn't move my left foot at all and I could see that there was blood seeping out from my shoe. The woman got out of her truck and started to argue with the group, claiming that I shouldn't have been parked where I was to begin with. I was just trying to not get sick from how painful everything was. The ambulance and police arrived. The police questioned me first since I was the one injured, and I explained what had happened. The woman tried to correct me, trying to get the police to talk to her first, but they told her to wait her turn. One of the officers was able to get the security footage from the store so he could see what happened, and a few of the witnesses had gotten parts of the altercation on camera, so there was evidence of what had really happened. The police asked if I wanted to press charges against the woman, and I told them I did. They arrested her initially for destruction of property and assault since she had injured me while running over my wheelchair. Her car got towed and got impounded. I was taken to the hospital by ambulance and they found that my left foot had been crushed under the weight of the car. I would have to go through extensive surgery and my mobility was going to be even more limited. It was one of the worst things I could have heard, and it took me a few months to get back to where I was able to function without using one of my legs. Since I was so used to using a wheelchair, it made the transition easier than it would have been, so that was the silver lining. During my stay in the hospital, I stayed in contact with the police regarding what had happened. The woman was insisting that it was an accident regardless of what the security cameras and video evidence said. So she was going to fight her arrest in court. I got a lawyer who immediately brought my attention to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Because this entitled woman had purposefully targeted me because of my disability, the charges could be upped and include a hate crime. After getting out of the hospital and having a month to relearn how to walk as well as use a new wheelchair while in my own home, I was informed that the trial date was set. I wheeled myself into the courtroom, my lawyer already there with a stack of paper evidence to present to the jury. The woman was there too, but I didn't pay any attention to her, trying to keep myself calm for however long the trial would take. The trial was not as long as it could be, according to my lawyer. The different footage from the front of the store and from the witnesses was more than enough to indicate that the woman had purposefully targeted me because of my disability. When her lawyers tried to fight back using her argument that I couldn't have been truly disabled, evidence of my childhood accident was presented along with my medical records indicating that my pain required me to use a wheelchair. It was an overwhelming victory. Before sentencing though, my lawyer asked for restitution for my injuries and my wheelchair, as it would be the least the woman could do to help with my pain and suffering. The judge agreed and this ridiculous person ended up behind bars. I would also be paid over $25,000 to cover my medical expenses and pay for the new wheelchair that I had to purchase. It's always baffling to me that people can still discriminate against those with disabilities, but the Americans with Disabilities Act was put into place so that if something like this happened to me again, I would be protected. And the next one is titled, I refuse to make my house wheelchair accessible. And by the way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really want to hit 120,000 subscribers soon and we are not too far away, so I would very much appreciate your help. Either way, this one starts like this. So my 22 female cousin, 24 male, is getting married next weekend. He proposed to his girlfriend, 25 female, on Wednesday and wants to get married by the next Saturday. And by the way, who the hell is getting married this quickly? Is that normal? Anyway, they wanna hold the ceremony at our grandparents' house, which I have the legal inheritance of. Honestly, I have no objections to them wanting to get married there or anything, also there's no reason to technically rush the wedding, but they say they are in a very happy place and want to be married ASAP, well, whatever rows their boat, I guess. They wanna hold the ceremony in the backyard and there's this platform of sorts where they want the wedding party to sit at the reception. The thing is, one of their bridesmaids, 24, 25 female, is a wheelchair user and so they wanna add a ramp to the platform. Now the conflict is the following, they asked me to get a ramp there, I've talked to the contractor who has done most of the furniture and stuff in that house and he says he can only get to it next month because he is busy with some personal affairs. I told my cousin this and he and his fiancée are very mad at me and when I refuse to hire a different contractor or get quick work done. I have offered to attach a temporary ramp, the detachable kind, which I could rent from a nearby shop instead. However, the bridesmaid is refusing this, saying that she deserves a better accommodative and accepting facilities. The thing to be noted is, the cousin doesn't want to pay for the ramp construction since it is not his house and doesn't even want to pay any percentage of rent for the ramp. Also, the rest of the house is wheelchair accessible since my grandma needed it, including the washrooms. It's only this platform for some reason that has no ramp but only stairs. I don't want any sloppy or expensive ramp done in a rush because I don't have that kind of money saved or want to compromise the quality. The bride texted me saying that she and my cousin have always walked on eggshells around me to make accommodations for my handicap and feelings. This is the least I can do for them. By the way, for reference, my handicap is my autism. It's never occurred to me that it's a handicap or issue for people, at least family, to be around me. When I talked to my parents about this, they were very angry at her and have refused to attend the wedding where their kid is being disrespected. When my aunt, the groom's mom, found out about this whole thing, she was red angry and said that she might not attend the wedding too. Now the bride is calling me an ableist and instigator. Am I the a-hole here? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this in the comments. Do you think OP is being the a-hole here or not? I'm very curious about what you think. Either way, OP further said wheelchair user instead of bound. Sorry, I was not aware of the negative connotation. Edit number 2, mostly everyone is saying that I shouldn't let them host the wedding there. It seems unfair since it was his grandparents' home too. But yes, I may not attend the wedding. It's disrespectful, I see. Update. Thank you everyone for all the comments and explanations. It really helped me understand the entirety of the situation. Well, after reading all the comments, the general consensus was not to let them use my house for the wedding, and when I asked my parents about this, they wholeheartedly agreed. Well, it just so happened that we were at said house, we being me, my parents and my aunt, groom's mom, when I texted my cousin saying, "I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable with you hosting the wedding or reception in my house." And he simply texted back, "Okay." And that is when my aunt called him up and started yelling how he was raised better and he is being disrespectful to his sister and is not what she ever expected. She said she won't attend the wedding, and when undoubtedly the marriage will fail, he will come back to his senses and his family. That he was shell-shocked would be an understatement. He immediately came over to meet us all, and when I told him about the handicap text from his bride-to-be, he was taken aback. He apologized profusely. He literally said that he is begging for forgiveness. Yes, he was irrational for the ramped demand, but the bridesmaid was emotionally manipulating him and blackmailing him a lot. He called off the wedding and has gone no contact with the fiancé. She saw the original post on Reddit and texted me calling me a tattletale dimwit. So, F you Carol. Also, as it turns out, they were rushing the wedding because she didn't want to sign a prenup. Dodged a bullet there, it seems. And yes, she said this part herself, yelling in rage. So no wedding, but my aunt is hosting dinner the night of the wedding and making my favorite dishes. Once again, thank you everyone. And the next one is titled, "Is my employee faking his disability?" I am a manager in charge of a division at my company. Drew, one of the people I manage, uses a wheelchair. When first hired, Drew was told to ask if any accommodation was needed, and well, he has never asked for any. Our area is on the first floor of our building. Our building has elevators and all the doorways are wide enough for his wheelchair. When Drew first began working here, he used public transit. There's a bus stop a few feet outside our front door. Now Drew has a car with hand controls and no one else parks in the space closest to the door. That space has been reserved for him. Drew has mentioned being a paraplegic, but to my knowledge has not elaborated or said anything about how and when it happened. Drew himself is outgoing and popular, gets along with everyone, and is one of these people who has the gift of being able to talk to anyone. He has an active life and participates in many clubs and athletics. Drew's work has always been good and I've never had a problem with him or anything he has done. Why I am writing it to you? Well, not long ago I saw a short film online about people who believe they are disabled but are actually not. And Drew was in it. He is not a paraplegic and does not need a wheelchair. In the film, Drew walks and it's clear that he is not paralyzed and has no actual need for a wheelchair, but uses it because he feels as though he was meant to be a paraplegic. It is for sure Drew, and it was recently made. At least one of the other people I manage has also seen it. She discreetly came to my office and mentioned it to me. I'm not sure here if I can or should do anything. This does not affect our work and Drew has never asked for any accommodation and has not tried to defraud anyone out of money, gifts or anything else. He does not constantly mention being paralyzed or the chair and barely talks about it. But to be honest with you, I think the lie is abhorrent and awful. Because it is his personal life, I'm not even sure if I can do anything. I normally would never say anything about the private lives of the people I manage, but Drew comes to work in the wheelchair and uses it full time and does mention being paralyzed. I'm concerned the company may look bad if anyone finds out and says something. Is this even something I can talk to Drew about? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And when I first read this, I immediately thought about a very famous case that happened years and years ago on the website twitch.tv, or maybe back then it was still called Justin TV, I'm not sure. Basically, there was a streamer that always played Diablo 3, and he was in a wheelchair. And back then, there weren't many streamers that were in a wheelchair, so he was sort of famous for that, I guess. Either way, he was just a normal streamer, to be honest, but at some point, there was a mega famous, super viral stream where he had to go to the bathroom, and go is actually the correct word because he just stood up from his wheelchair and walked to the bathroom. And of course, everyone in the chat and everyone watching was absolutely shocked. And it turns out that this guy actually just faked his disability to get more views and more fame. Absolutely despicable, if you ask me. I'm not sure if something like this ever happened again. I hope not, to be honest. Anyway, let's read the update to the story. It starts like this. So firstly, I would like to reiterate that it was definitely Drew. Someone in the comments mentioned doppelgangers, but it was 100% him. Same first and last name, hair, height, tattoo and voice, etc. Someone said I had seen the documentary after my other employee brought it to my attention, and I had actually seen the documentary before this and knew what she was talking about as soon as she mentioned it. There was no baiting and switching. Drew participated openly knowing it would be seen. He said as much in it as did the others who appeared. And by the way, Ripestars, how stupid do you have to be to do something like this and then openly admit it in a movie that apparently aired on YouTube or something? Wouldn't it be smarter to keep this to yourself or something? Anyway, he said people would probably see it that he knew. In the documentary, Drew did more than take a few steps. He walked, ran, rode a bike, went up and down stairs and kicked a ball. By his own words, he is 100% physically healthy and can use his legs fine/normally. However, he uses a wheelchair full-time even when he is home alone and tells everyone that he is a paraplegic with no use of his legs at all. He mentions having gone to therapy in the past and all they would do is force him to use his legs and a wheelchair, so he quit it and now he doesn't go to therapy or see anyone. He said nothing is mentally wrong with him and he wishes he was paralyzed and could find a doctor to do it, although no doctor will. Drew participates in athletics for people in wheelchairs and is a disability activist according to the documentary. After some of his friends saw the documentary, I guess they felt deceived or something. Last week, Drew tearfully gave 1 week's notice. I didn't mention the documentary, but Drew did, and he said he was moving because his friends won't talk to him because they found out that he lied and he was kicked off the teams he is on. He mentioned being investigated for using a fake disabled parking tag. In the documentary, he mentioned being estranged from his family because they wouldn't accommodate his wheelchair. After he left, people began talking about the documentary. The employee who had brought it to my attention left here for a management job somewhere else long before Drew left, and him being in the documentary got out there. It was not her who outed him, I don't know who did. People were angry though when they found out about Drew, but he had already left. Drew had no formal accommodations, all the doors were already wide enough and there are many working elevators and large single washrooms here. People would do things for Drew on their own, like get things from the printer or run to another floor. Drew was on the ground floor because Drew always asked but did those things himself if no one was around. One person in the comments mentioned the company putting in ramps and rearranging the desks for Drew. I was baffled when I read it because nothing of the sort was done. I had mentioned clearly in my question that nothing had to be done to accommodate Drew besides giving him the disabled space closest to the door. There was no ramps or moving the desks, and I want to make it clear that statement was completely false. So that is all I have for my update. Thank you for answering my questions. Your answer was well thought out as always. Take care and cheers. And yeah, Ripestars, once again, let me know what you think about this Drew guy in the comments. But honestly, people faking a disability, I don't have any good things to say about them, let me be clear. The next one is titled, Karens Can Be So Stupid. I'm a hairdresser that rents a booth in a salon, as do all the stylists that work there. The owner of the salon is one of my best friends, so after closing the salon that I operated for 20 years, I joined her team and I'm really happy. I have a wonderful clientele with the exception of a few, which I'll get to in a bit, and get along great with my coworkers except one, which is Kate. Note, not Karen. She has a grating personality and for the most part I can just let her comments roll off my back. She doesn't have a clientele, which leads to her having way too much free time, which she uses by pestering the rest of us while we are with our clients and butting into conversations that should be private. Recently, I had two of my clients tell me that when they called for appointments they were told that I didn't have time for them and that Kate would give them a discount if they came in with her instead. However, they would have to come in on a day that I wasn't there so that my feelings would not get hurt. And well, that's a load of poop because everyone in the salon knows that if I don't have an opening for someone when they call, they are to take down the name so I can call them personally to work them in. When I confronted Kate about those instances, she just shrugged and said that I was too sensitive and besides I was too busy, so she was really just helping me out. And now onto the petty revenge. I have a few customers that I've been trying to get rid of for years, you know the ones. They are never happy, always late, don't tip and generally APITB, which I suppose means a pain in the butt. Anyway, I decided that if she wanted my customers so bad, I would feed her the ones that I wanted to get rid of anyway. So when they had trouble getting in with me, I would tell them that I was booked out for months, but they would be really happy with Kate. She told me yesterday that she did not know why all of my crappy customers were her problem now. My days are better, it's a bit easier for my customers to book with me, and she is always in a bad mood for having to deal with unhappy customers so much of her day. Plus, a couple of my other coworkers have started doing the same. The next one is titled Email Revenge. Many years ago, I, female, was dating someone, male, that hurt me, humiliated me and did not stop to think how it could backfire on him. He pursued me, I liked him, we hit it off. We spent lots of time together, dinners, going out, many nights at his place, etc. We were dating and everything seemed great. Well, sometime into dating, he hurt me. I discovered lies, secrets, other women. He was also really mean and hurtful to me when I found this out, etc. I realized it was all lies and games to him. I was sincerely heartbroken and disappointed in him. As my last communication to him, I decided to email him instead of speaking to him over the phone. I went through the disappointment I had in him, wasting my time, emotions, etc., my closure with him. Well, I started getting notices in my email account and at first I thought they were spam, not bothering to see what the emails were in regards to. I finally take a look to see what is going on and my heart drops and I gasp. He had forwarded my email to all of his friends, a group of male and female friends, couples, singles, lifetime group of friends. The best of friends. They are going back and forth, laughing at me, mocking me, calling me pathetic, saying I deserve the pain for being stupid and trusting him. It just went on and I was included in all the replies. It was horrible. I cried for a minute until I realized something. I realized I had in possession the red flags I had ignored. It hit me at that moment, all the things he had said about his group of friends, all the stories I had heard, all the secrets I knew. That's right, I gathered myself, poured a nice drink, laughed and said, it's on. I replied to the group email saying, I'm glad you guys have found my hurt entertaining, my personal life not respected, your friend's behavior acceptable. My expressing myself to him in how things ended is not shameful, what he did with my email and me is shameful. But since you guys enjoy this type of entertainment, I figured why not join in on the fun? I went through the whole list of friends so-and-so, you're not included in any activities and invites because they think your wife emasculated you and she has cut your balls off and no one respects you anymore. Also to his wife, no one likes you, they think you're a stuck-up and laugh at you because that rock you flaunt is glass, not a real diamond or any other real stone. For the one that says I deserve to be treated this way and hurt, aren't you the one that just had her violent abusive boyfriend destroy your whole apartment for what time in a row already? Didn't you go crying to your friends about it? I guess you must have deserved it as well, huh? And just so you know, everyone thinks you're an idiot too for being with the guy that treated you that way. Welcome to the club. I went through the list and revealed everything, every secret, everything they thought and said about each other, everything they didn't know and didn't want others to know. I ended it with, wow, this was fun. I'm glad we did this. I feel so much better now. And if anyone is hurt, upset, feels violated, humiliated, angry, don't bother emailing me. Talk to your little friend that thought this was a great idea. And also remember, you guys thought it was a great idea and fun as well. The silence after that was the sweetest sound ever. And by the way guys, sorry if you can hear dogs barking in the background. It's the neighbor dog that's super sweet, but unfortunately our neighbors don't really take good care of him. Either way, months after that he messaged me, tried apologizing, told me all his friends dropped him, he had nowhere to stay and asked if he could sleep on my couch. Nope, obviously that's not gonna happen. He tried reaching out a few times throughout the years, trying to make amends, explaining that he lost everyone after that, that group of lifelong friends was done, he had his own place working etc, but he was alone. Edit, that whole group disintegrated instantly from what he said, it was chaos, relationships ended, no one remained friends after that. The only thing they were in agreement with was that they hated him. When this happened, I did not even stop to think of what the outcome would be. The only thing on my mind was giving them a taste of feeling humiliated, violated, mocked. My revenge intention was simply to make them feel some of what I felt. Edit. Reminder, this happened many years ago, not recently. I didn't think it had to be recent or post a picture of the email to prove it is true. I did not think this story was that big of a deal to begin with, as far as public interest would go. I thought it was a crazy story to share for the entertainment of a few that might come across it. I assumed my story would not be that different or more fascinating than any other revenge story. If you knew me in person, you would understand me, my personality and humor and attitude towards things. I am always laughing over things. I laugh over thinking something is funny, disbelief, I'm being sarcastic, talking crap, etc. I try not to write my casual messages to others very seriously, because they are meant to not come across that way, and I want others to laugh and not feel like they are reading some serious novella. Believe it or not, this is nowhere near one of the most dramatic things that has happened to me. My life has been wild since birth, and if you guys think this story is crazy or fake, then well, I'm screwed sharing the rest of my life because it only gets crazier. My family nicknames for me are La Mala Suerte, The Bad Luck, Mayhem, Final Destination. I'm a Chicana, and for those that know, the amount of times I've had eggs rubbed on me to remove the bad luck and bad energy is hilarious. The amount of times I've been blessed, prayed on, etc. I've been on my own since I was 16. The things I've been through and seen can make a grown man cry. I laugh at things. Laughing has got me through some crazy stuff in life. I would rather laugh than cry and show the world that I'm laughing at stuff, and I would rather show you with my words that I'm laughing because I am, and if that upsets you guys or you think it makes me look psychotic, then so be it. Just give me one more thing to laugh at. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I've noticed this in the past, that some Reddit posts, or at least in some subreddits, people can definitely be cruel, and you should not always take Reddit too seriously in regards to what people say. But then again, that is more difficult for some people than for others on the internet. And I can absolutely understand where OP is coming from. And yeah guys, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to check out my podcast by searching for Ripestories on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts. Furthermore, you can find bonus content by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or by clicking the join button here on YouTube. For a small monthly fee, you will get access to dozens and dozens of exclusive videos you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.